Okay, before we get started, I'm actually going to test the audio on our YouTube live stream. And there's the link for anybody else who wants to jump in there and chat or share it more broadly.
Morning, Jen.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. How about you?
I'm well. I'm here for the ICONversation. I guess you just take a seat.
Yeah, absolutely. So there should be 3 seats available on the stage, and then we'll get started in about 3 minutes, and Hank will come up and moderate and introduce you guys.
Hey
Okay.
there.
Hey, and thanks.
This is Shannon. Hank will be on in just a few.
Okay. Thanks, Shannon.
Sure.
Do we know? I haven't done one of these before. Is there any specific topic, or it's just going to be whatever Hank has on his mind today?
We're just going to have a conversation with Hank. You know, he'll probably ask us a couple questions, and it's fun. Just think of it like we're having coffee together.
I could use one.
Oh, me too. Like I'm inhaling a burger right now, so that like I'm fresh.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. This is Shannon.
Oh, hi, Shannon again. I barely made it in time.
Well, Hank will be on in just a minute. So if he doesn't get on here at exactly noon, then I'll start it, and then he'll take over as soon as we get over. So I'll be back in just a moment.
Okay, thank you.
Hey guys, can you hear me? This is David with Charlotte.
Yep. Hey, David, how are you?
Very good.
I was just saying, we're going to start here in a minute.
No worries. I'm just making sure my mic was working.
Yep, Hank will be here in a minute, and I'll start in a minute if he's not on. Matter of fact, I'll just start right now, and then Hank will take over as soon as he gets here. Oh, there he is. Never mind.
Ta-da! I love timing, and all of a sudden, like right at the end of the meeting, it's like computer wants to restart, and I was like, well, it keeps bugging out, so let's do it. So, hello everyone.
Morning.
Hello. Morning, Hank.
We're gonna jump right in here. As you guys know, I am a high D, so if you guys are high Ds, raise your hand. If you're an S or a C, know that sometimes if I start tapping my fingers, icons, just a heads up, I might jump in because there's nothing worse than being in a mid-team meeting and it's starting to die off. Are you guys good with that?
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna, obviously I know Shannon. Shannon I'm a big fan of. Man, you know, when I look at a representative of our company and where it's just do the right thing, Shannon's been a great example of that. And yet James and David, I don't know who you are, so would you do me a favor? Would you imagine that we're sitting around at the coffee table and we're introducing each other's right now? Would you mind doing that? James, why don't you go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning. How are you?
Living the dream.
Yeah, I hear you. A pleasure to meet you. Yeah, I'm from Las Vegas. I've been in the business about 15 years and moved over. Had the opportunity to partner up with some great people. Moved over to EXP about 6 months ago, and it's been a great opportunity for myself and for my team. And we're still learning lots and getting everything dialed in. And this is the first one of these I've done, but it's been a great experience, and our business has grown.
James, can I step in right there? So you're 6 months in, and I think there's something really valuable here. What is it that you wish you would have known 6 months ago that you know now?
I wish, yeah, 6 months ago, I wish, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope, you're good. Keep going.
Okay. Yeah, I wish a lot of the training, I wish we would have gotten a little bit more. We made a quick move, and so a lot of the training that EXP offers, and a lot of the systems that we weren't really didn't look closely enough. I didn't even realize they were there. It's been a lot of value. It's been a lot of value for providing training to my core staff of people, to my EXP network. And that's probably one of the biggest things I wish we would have dove into a little bit sooner, because the quality of the instructors, the quality of the training that they do is utterly impressive to me.
Well, and what I found was there's never been a time that I had a question that I couldn't find someone that truly could give the answer. James, now obviously, if you're an icon already, tell us a little bit about your book of business, because you did it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was very blessed. I think I hit icon in about 3 weeks, actually, of being at the company. We have a pretty consistent business here. We're known in Vegas as the high rise team.
Where is the damn microphone?
We kind of have a unique niche where we've been specializing in the Las Vegas high rise market for about the last 12 years, and we average around 200 transactions a year, and right around the just north of $50 million mark in sales volume.
Love it. So, question that I'm going to ask all three of you on the stage: will your taxes be done by April 15th?
Since I'm on, I'll answer that. No, I haven't done my taxes by April 15th in a decade.
Well, and James, And James, the reason I asked that question is the number one challenge that I see with real estate agents isn't necessarily income problems, it's cash flow challenges, and it's by not
I
knowing
understand.
knowing
I
their
can't hear
numbers.
anything.
And
So
hey,
I'm in there
Conda, if
trying
you
to
can
listen
hear
to
us,
the
do me a favor,
conversation.
mute
It says that
yourself.
I have no device.
Conda,
And when I
maybe
go over here to this, and
Hey,
I go
Conda,
here,
we can hear you.
speakers.
and unfortunately, I will get control for next week where I can mute people or knock off line. So if somebody has that ability, when I look at that dollar per hour on here, we got 150 people. Our average per hour is probably $200 plus. Come on, people, let's do better than this. And again, I don't mean for that to sound rough. And let's just keep moving. So James, talk to us a little bit about that. Do you mind?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I only caught
So I'm
part
gonna
of
have
the
to get in
question.
there.
We had a little bit of feedback from the audience. I didn't quite hear that second part.
Well, one of the things that I've had the opportunity to talk with thousands of agents and look at their businesses and everything else, and the number one challenge that I see in our industry isn't income problems, it's cash flow challenges. And one of the challenges that I see it erupting from is people not knowing their numbers. Now, obviously, you're a $50 million producer, you're a freaking rock star with what you're doing. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you run it as a business? Because obviously you are.
Yeah, I think even a lot of that depends on your structure, your background, how systematic you are. I still, even at the level that I'm at, I still actually run into a few issues. Like you said, the income's not the issue. Keeping solid cash flow, we're still we're still in an industry that's can be a roller coaster, whether you're a single agent doing 5 deals a year or doing a couple hundred deals a year like I do, because it's still based off of production, and I have a much higher overhead than the individual agent would have. And so I do use a company that's been very, very helpful. It's a bookkeeping company that specializes in only top producing real estate teams. And I believe they would take all the way onto the individual agent. It's a company called Streamline Business Solutions. And I believe they have about 300 to 400 other teams across the country. And they do a really good job of keeping us up to date with our P&Ls monthly, and they actually compare all of our P&Ls and all of our expenses and all of our incomes at a percentage compared to the rest of the data they have from the rest of the top teams that are clients of theirs. So I know I got a little off track there, but that's been very helpful with keeping us in line at least monthly and annually, expenses, income, and where we kind of stand compared to the rest of similar producers to myself in the country.
Well, and James, I don't think you got offline at all. I love, and would you put in the comments, I got Streamlined Business Solutions, because guys, think about the language that he's using around here, and oftentimes we don't get to know, like we only hear what we think we know of businesses, and I've never heard of Streamlined Business Solutions, and it sounds like a phenomenal product. So keep going. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yeah, I thought there might be value there for people, and if anyone's interested, just reach out to me, and I'd be happy to put you in touch with the owner, a gentleman named David. And so I think I've run into the same issues as, like I said, I was discussing an individual agent just operating on their own with the ups and downs of the commission flow. I buy and sell a lot of my own property, so I have a very, very unique, my my CPA doesn't really like it that much. I actually don't even pay quarterly taxes. I pay taxes once a year. I've always extended my taxes, and to be completely honest, I usually align selling a property with paying off the taxes. So I keep my cash flow working all year long, and 60 to 90 days before I need to pay the IRS my fee, I line it up with what property that I need to liquidate, and usually liquidate a property and pay it in full.
Well, let's pause right here, guys. And I think if you're with EXP, I want you to check what you're thinking right now, because you're coming from one of two places. You're either coming from judgment and you're thinking, oh my gosh, blah, 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 or you're thinking, oh my gosh, like we just got some golden nuggets there. And I don't think that it's for the beginner. What I could tell that James has spent a bunch of time around financial literacy. And guys, there's a point where if you don't increase your financial IQ, you can't out earn stupid. And James, I could spend the rest of the hour with you, yet I want to get to, I want to open up the conversation to David. So I'm going to go back to the original question of David. David, I wouldn't recognize you on the street if we walked past each other. Give us a little introduction, so to speak.
Awesome. So I'm going to start with making sure you can hear me, because I just got a new mic.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Awesome. So David Upchurch, Charlotte, North Carolina, focused on a suburb. Been in the business since '97. Been doing this a long time. Actually, James, I lived in Henderson for about 4 years. I moved from Indiana to Vegas in 2002, opened up an office there, and then came to Charlotte in '06, and have been here ever since. Went through the struggles in 9, 10, and 11, 12. Started building my team back up, and last year, 2018, we did 180 transactions for just at 60 million. I've got 2 full-time buyers agents that both are doing 40 plus deals a year each. I have a listing partner, which is a husband and wife team. They did, I think, 45 transactions last year. So I've got 3 full-time beast agents. Then I've got 4 other part-time agents that will do anywhere between 10 to 20 deals each. And this is the first year that I've been 100% out of production. So last year was the first year I didn't personally sell a house.
Oh my gosh, it's how did you deal with that transition of going in full control to, because let's face it, we can draw pretty good income off of just our back. What was that transition like, and what did you learn through that?
So like anybody else that's probably out of production, doing this at a high level, we did not succeed the first time. We did not succeed the second time, the third time, and maybe not even the fourth time. What I learned was it's about people. I started off with buyer's agents, me doing kind of both buyers and sellers, and then having a buyer's agent. Went through several of them because nobody worked as hard as I did. And then into 2015, I partnered up with a buyer's agent that's still with me today. She will do, I think she did 40 some buyer transactions last year. So somebody that's doing 40 buyer transactions, if that's not a rock star, I don't know what it is. When you do 40 listings, you're good. You're just not quite a rock star, in my opinion, compared to somebody doing 40 buyer deals, because we all know buyers are a lot more time consuming. And really just built that with a great admin and her. And 16 was a great year.
So David, man, there's some good stuff here. I think I could, and I might talk with Glenn where I might just be able to do ICONversations with one at a time, so I can really peel back, because I'm sitting here thinking, James, I got a million questions for you. And David, here's the question that I have is, one thing that people don't understand is when you're transitioning from a single agent to a business, there is a net income. Just because your gross comes up doesn't mean that your net income is going to go up. Can you walk us through what you experienced going from a single agent and what that ebb and flow was between gross and net, and how you managed those ups and downs.
So I only got about half of that because somebody's mic was on. So could you repeat that?
Yes. Long story short, when you go from an individual agent to a team, there's the challenge of the difference between gross and net. How did you feel the ebbs and flows of being used to having a high net income? Because when it's just yourself, that's easier to net more than going through the team. And can you walk us through the lessons that you learned managing those from going from a job to a business?
Yeah. So I'm sure my net was a little bit. It took a hit a little bit. However, one of the things that I have always said, and remember, guys, this is just my personal opinion here, is a lot of people that I talk to throughout the country that, because listen, I can't grow without learning from people in front of me. So I built my business by ripping off and duplicating a lot of other giants in the industry, and I still remain friends with those guys today. But one of the mistakes that I always felt like that a lot of people made when they were building a team was it was always about the number of agents. And for me, it was the opposite. It was the number of leads that I could provide. I've used this analogy many times. If you have 3 children and you can barely feed those 3 children, don't have a 4th child. If you have 3 people on your team and those 3 people you're not providing those 3 people with so much value that their life has been changed financially, don't get a 4th agent.
Where did you see that shift happen? Have you always thought that way, or what was it that had you look at that differently?
I just think, honestly, while I was building the team, and remember, I always started off small. It was me, then it would be just one buyer's agent. It was me and then an admin, right? And then it was me, an admin, and a buyer's agent. And I only brought a buyer's agent on when I felt like I had so much business that I was not providing the value that I should to my clients. I also am a husband. I'm a father of 2. My kids are now 17 and 15, and I will never forget this. Was at the dinner table. My family eats dinner together quite a bit at the dinner table, but in 2011, that didn't happen as often because I was working so much. And my 7-year-old daughter looked at me. I was at the kitchen table. I had the phone rang or a text message or something, and I was responding to a client at 7:30 on probably a Thursday night or 8 o'clock. And she looked at me, she's 7 years old at the time, and she says to me, "We should call that your marry me phone because you're on it all the time."
Ouch.
My wife looked at me like, she didn't say anything, but when you're married 20 years, you know what that look is. And that look was, that hurt, didn't it? And I got up and I put my phone down over on the other side of the table or the counter, sat back down, and I said, "I will never have my phone at the table again." I realized at that point that I was so busy that I needed to make a change. So I started bringing buyer's agents on. And that's when it was hard to find somebody that I
hold on, David. I'm gonna pause you right here because I want to stick here for a second. You had that defining moment, that pain moment, and you decided to put standards in place. And they were non-negotiables is what I'm hearing. And I see this so many times. And what has happened, because you said busy, there's a difference between busy and being productive. What happened to your productivity when that was fresh in your mind?
You mean prior to or before I had the buyer's agent?
Well, and I'm going back more up to 80,000 feet versus in the trenches. So many times I hear so many people are so busy, and then we look at the results that they're getting, and I bet what I'm guessing is you had to prioritize at a whole nother level on what you said yes to and what you said no to, because I mean, you had a lot of things that you could be busy to. So it sounds like you had to start to subtract in order to keep those standards.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was just one of those things where I realized that I had so much business that it was time for me to grow. I didn't just go out and get an agent because I wanted to grow the business. And I do believe that a lot of people make that mistake. And they try to grow the business before they can't handle and listen, and what I mean by not handle, I'm not saying that I couldn't have continued to work 80 hours a week.
Right.
But I made a conscious effort that wasn't that important to me anymore.
Well, and David,
I was willing to give up my buyers. Sorry, I'll go ahead. I was willing to give up my buyers I was buying something back, and I was buying time back with my family.
And I love it. What I find with a lot of alphas, and whether it's alpha male or alpha females, work comes easy for us. We have to put standards in place to make sure that we keep family aligned. Does that relate to you or not?
Yes. They still say I'm a workaholic, and I have to sometimes remember to put the phone down, to put the laptop down, and be present. You know, and I listen. And in 2018, I no doubt, if you ask my family, I was better at it in 2018 than I was in 17, and I was better at it in 17 than I was 16. And a lot of that had to do with the people that I've built this business with, and that they've helped me build this business. You cannot build. I couldn't have done this by myself. This is not my business. This is our business.
You know, I love the humility that I'm hearing from the two of you, and Shannon, we're going to pivot to you right now, and we've had conversations regarding this around net life and in the ups and downs, and you've recently had a few changes within it. Shannon, tell us a little bit about you and your business.
Hey guys, Shannon Milligan, Richmond, Virginia. So I was a single agent up until about 2 years ago, and I brought on a buyer agent, and she recently left. She wanted to spread her wings, which we left amicably, and we are friends, and I want good things for her. That's also the beauty thing about having somebody in your downline, right? Like, I still want her to succeed, not only because we're friends, but also because she's in my downline. So I want good things for her. I sold about 46 homes this past year with myself and just the buyer agent. I had a part-time admin who I fired because she was not very good at it. And so it's just myself and a new buyer agent that I'm bringing on. And I'm listening to all this. And here's what I learned. I went to the beach house this past summer, and I thought, you know, maybe I would want to grow, because that's what I see around me. All these big teams and everybody telling me, you got to be a big team. You got to be a big team. And my husband has something called Woody Woofy. What do you want for you? And I was letting everybody else define what I wanted for myself. So I went to this beach house and I invited 5 other agents in my area, some girlfriends. And I was listening to the one girl, and I found out she made $10,000 more than me last year. And she has a team of like 10. And it just, that's not $10,000 extra is not worth the headache to me. So I'm happy. You know, my goal is always about 50 homes, and I don't care how I get there. It can be listings, it can be buyers. I like listings because marketing's kind of my jam, so I prefer to work on that. But what I learned this past year is, what do you want for you, and how do you get that, and what does your life by design look like? And so that's what I've been working on in mine. And yes, my taxes will be paid probably by the end of this month, beginning of February. And I'm a high D too, so you're going to get quick answers.
I love it. And have your taxes always been done on time?
Yes, I am a Dave Ramsey person. Not only are my taxes done, I always keep $50,000 in a business account that I do not touch. And I start to freak a little bit when it goes below 50. And that's not including like our emergency fund. That is just a business fund. because y'all, we are about to hit a shift, and I want to make sure that I have some money to cushion anything that I might need.
Well, and James, we're going to come back to your point there because I want to spend a little time with Shannon here first, and I want to hear more about that. Now, Shannon, what I love about it is you were talking about your thermostat of the $50,000, and you talk about freaking out a little bit when it starts to get below that. Has your thermostat always been at $50,000, or what did you do to increase it there? And is there the next level that you're looking to go to? Walk us a little bit around that.
It wasn't always 50. I mean, when I first started this business, I was in the hole, right? Because I didn't know how to run a business, and I sold 3 houses, and that just kind of turned even. So then we put, I think it was about when I made my first 10,000, we put a little bit aside there. And then I really realized how much I was spending in my business. I was spending about 35,000. And so 50 just seemed like a more comfortable number to have in the bank. And I won't be spending 35 this year because I'm not spending money on leads this year. I'm not going to do it. I'm pouring into my people, and it's either going to be spectacular or I'm going to fail and pick myself up and try again next year. But this year I anticipate when I did my P&L, should be about 24,000, 25,000 what I spend. So I like having about double in there. My husband thinks that thermostat is too high, that I should probably only have 25, but I think that has some stinking thinking from when I was a little kid. I grew up poor and I just like to have money, but we also pocket money in our personal life. So that's my business threshold, but my personal threshold is I want to have 100,000 just sitting there. And that's what we have more than that. And that's just what I'm comfortable with. For somebody else, that might be having $1,000 in the bank, but it's when I got with a financial coach 3 years ago, we hadn't really had any money set aside. And now we have an emergency fund for our family of 25,000. And then that's 50,000 an emergency fund just for the family. We have 50,000 in an emergency fund for my business. And then we have, a savings that has a significant amount that if I have a down year, it's okay. And if I want to try this year not buying leads and seeing how just pouring into my people works, that's okay too. It allows me to make other choices. And I think my thermostat will always be more on the conservative side, just from how I grew up. I was a coal miner's daughter. And when the coal literally ran out, I saw what happened. And so I don't ever want my coal to run out.
Well, and Shannon, what I love here, you've made so many incredible points here, and one of the things that I'm working on is what behaviors are feeding into my cash flow challenges. And Shannon, when I look at your behaviors, it's preventing you from having cash flow challenges that I see so much in this industry, and I love it. Now, the reality is if life came up and hit you up alongside the head, for example, my hit up alongside the head was my son had to have open heart surgery. Now, Shannon, based on your financial situation, when life happens, because we're all going to have something happen during life, whether it's a child like me or a family member that you need to take care of, you've positioned yourself to minimize those transitions.
Yes. And I don't want anybody to think that we don't have fun. Like, we went to Ireland last year, and the year before we went to Italy and Switzerland, and we go to Disney every year, and we're going to Costa Rica in April. We just spend, we don't have a big house. We have a 3,000 square foot house, which is big, but there's 4 of us. And I would love to go and get the fancy new house and have the $800,000 mortgage. But what we decided for our family is we want to have more experiences. I live in a great neighborhood. And, we're doing some things to our house, like I'm adding a new closet. So we do fun things. And what I find is when you budget is freedom. People think budgeting is a handcuff, and it's such a myth. It is the biggest freedom. And I don't say this boastfully. I say this because I want this for other people. So much so that I'm having a financial seminar tomorrow with my financial coach for my past clients to learn this. Because when we learn to budget, we had more money than we knew what to do with, because I was throwing it away on stupid stuff. And I just learned it's such freedom.
How many of you guys, and if you feel free to answering, there's so many people that I meet, and myself included, that have made way too much money to be this broke. And what I mean by that is oftentimes what we do is we allow our lifestyle to outpace our income. And Shannon, what you've done is you've allowed your income to outpace your lifestyle, which has allowed you to have a pretty freaking awesome lifestyle. Would you say that's fair?
Fair, but I will also say that happened 3 years ago. Before that, I mean, the first year that I sold 30 houses and the year after, I don't have much to show for that. Like, you know, we went and we did stupid stuff. And when you know better, you do better. And we now know better. So if anybody's out there finding themselves like, well, I'm not in that position, I wasn't either until I was.
You know, and I love that. So many times what we do is we compare someone's 15th chapter of their book to our third chapter. And guys, the reality is most of us are only 5 years away from a completely different financial outcome if we're willing to do within while doing without, if we're willing to be consistent. And James, I want to jump back to you because you know, I believe it was James, maybe it was David in the comments that said about the big team. You have a team, yet you said you had some insight that you wanted to share on that.
Yeah, absolutely. You made a really good point, and you do hear a lot of people and a lot of pressure, especially when it comes down to the numbers and it comes down to the number of transactions. You know, just like I had said when I introduced myself, you know, I'm averaging 200 transactions a year, but that doesn't necessarily, that's all you hear people say. At the end of the day, we're all in this for profitability. So if you can have, like Shannon had said, the same profitability or similar profitability with a lot less liability and a lot less risk, I would, from my experience of doing this, I would take that route every time, because having a large operation and having a team comes with a lot of additional risk and a lot of additional liability, and you're responsible for people's lives. So it's definitely something that we could talk about all day, but what Shannon
James,
said makes a lot of sense.
What percentage of people do you think, and shoot from the hip, do you think actually have the capacity of doing a team and being successful at it? Because I look at my parents, they're getting ready to sell their small business. I mean, they poured 40 years into it. And in many of those years, it was like, oh my gosh, ramen noodles, how many different ways can you do it? What percentage of agents do you think have the capacity to actually do a team and be successful at it?
Oh, my guess would be, obviously it's just a guess. I have no kind of data on this, but I would guess 10 to 15%.
Okay, you're more generous than I. My perspective from the number of people that I've talked to and how many people I've seen fail at it, I believe we're actually closer to the 1 to 2% that can pull it off and actually pull it off for the reasons why they're doing it. Yet again, no huge data except for my conversation. So, James, anything else to exemplify your point there?
I did want to make one point, which is an accolade for EXP. If that is your goal, building a large, successful, profitable team, I can tell you that this is the company and the brokerage to attempt to do it at. Just from the 6 months that I've been with this company, I've been able to get in touch with producers and teams that I'm able to network with and that are willing to share systems and models that are, you know, producing at 3-4 times the income that I am, and sales volume that I'm doing. And I've been able to implement some of that. I've been able to grow, and you just find out, you realize what you don't know. There's so much out there that's being done successfully in other states, other parts of the country, and through the technology of EXP, that's been a game changer for me.
Well, that's one thing I love about our culture is we don't seem to have an ego culture. And what I mean by that is we can get down to the nuts and bolts with people when we talk, and it's not just talking about gross, it's talking about, hey, you know what? Yeah, I gross blank, yet I lost my butt this year. And I find the congruency of conversation here is like I've seen nowhere else. I want to drop another question here is how are you guys doing? Because obviously there's a lot of change going on within the country and within the industry. How much attention do you pay to all that? And let's get the CNN version on that. What are you guys doing to protect your mindset, or give me some feedback on that?
So let me jump in on that one. So I don't pay hardly any attention to it. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I only focus on things I can control. So I'm going to focus.
Hold on. Say that last thing again, please, please, please.
I only focus on the things that I have control over. I'm just not going to focus. I'm not going to worry about things I don't control. I don't know whether the market's going to get better in 2019 or worse. Nobody in this room knows whether it's going to get worse or better. We just don't know. So why worry about that there's a shift and that the market's going to be worse in 2019 than it was 18? Nobody knows the answer to that. You can make predictions, but somebody else can predict the absolute opposite and they could be right. So I'm going to focus on what I can control, and what I can control in my business is marketing, and trying to generate leads and opportunities for my agents.
You know, it's funny, David. I get to run with a pretty high net worth group and a pretty high net life group. And it's funny how common that answer is we just focus on what we control and our activities. James or Shannon, got any input on that?
Yeah, I'm in therapy.
Me too. Every Friday at 4:40.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, I'm in therapy because, like David said, focus on what you can control. I'm a control freak, and it's something that I have to deal with. And, we finally popped a couple balloons in therapy just this week. I was there this morning, and we realized that I ping pong between fear and guilt. Fear that I'm not going to have the business, fear that I'm not going to be good enough for everybody. And then when I get it, I feel guilty. And that's such a schizophrenic place to be. And that does play into the market because I'm reading this stuff. And so having the tools to know how to deal with it and all of that stuff, that's what I'm doing. And then business will just show up because I'm taking care of me and knowing how to react to those kind of situations.
Shannon, what's interesting is having coached thousands of agents, what I found is a common theme of my agents that get into therapy, and guys, don't think that therapy makes you weak or anything like that. I mean, if you look at how important your mental awareness and stability is, it's huge. My clients that are in proactive therapy or in marriage therapy or whatever the case may be, consistently have exponential results versus those who aren't.
It's changing everything in my life. And not only that, but again, back to the budget. The budget not only changed my financial picture, it strengthened my marriage. It made my health better. I lost 25 pounds 3-4 years ago and have kept it off. When all of those spokes in your wheel are straightened out, everything gets, it's not perfect, but everything feels better. And I am worried about the shift in the market, and I'm taking the steps to get over that fear and just keep my head down and stay focused and, have tunnel vision in terms of just do the job in front of me and I will be just fine.
It's interesting. My financial advisor right now said, Hank, pile up as much cash as you can. Opportunity is going to be bountiful before we would like for it to be. James, what about you? Chime in here, man.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much in line with what David and Shannon had said. I don't worry about the shifting and the adjustment of the market. I believe we all feel at some point we are going to have some form of an adjustment, and most likely it's going to be nationwide. Right now in the market that we're at, in my market, in the Las Vegas market, the statistics just came out that we're projected to be the second hottest real estate market in the country this year, behind Grand Rapids, Michigan, and annual appreciation. And so I do try to, as David said, I do watch the market. I do try to make internal predictions for where we see the business going, and we're 90% of the time I'm pretty accurate related to the high-rise niche that we specialize in. That's another value of having niche marketing, that you do have a little bit more control and a little bit more insight over the market in general. So I do try to make adjustments. I mean, we believe we're ramping up for a pretty solid year. It looks like most of this year. Our industry is on the high-rise side is 90% cash transactions. So financing doesn't have a huge impact on us. Although the adjustments, Fed's hiking rates, that does affect consumer confidence. But we try to prepare, and we try to do it 2 quarters at a time, and usually we're pretty accurate. Sometimes we miss the boat, and but kind of like David said, we just put our head down and we do what we know we have to do, and we do try to stay cognitive of the market and what's going on, so we don't get blindsided by anything.
David, there's been a common thing amongst Icon agents up here is if I put any one of you on the spot, I bet you know your market statistics inside and out within what you're working with. Are you guys all pretty purposeful on that? And if so, what is the best strategy that you have to make sure that you're the expert? And in CNN versions, please.
So
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so for me, I mean, we kind of, I specialize and focus on, we strictly do residential sales, and we focus in on a suburb of Charlotte. In 2008 and 9, I was, really chasing after the internet lead all over Charlotte, a 45-minute to an hour drive of my home or my home office. And in 2013, I kind of decided to take all that effort and money and really hone in on a suburb and kind of become the bigger fish in a small pond versus a regular sized fish in a huge, enormous Charlotte. So we really rifled in on target marketing, kind of the Union County area, which is just south of Charlotte. And, everything that we do marketing wise is marketed towards that area. Our office is in downtown. It's a small town. So everything that we do is this area. So we do focus on this area. We do know the stats. We do know the numbers. We do change our marketing based on that. There are some things that we will be doing in 2019 that we just did not do in 17 and 18 when the market was just gangbusters. Because, I don't know if the shift is coming, but it appears that it might be. So I want to be prepared for that.
Yeah, and I've heard the term thrown around. We're not shifting. We're going back to more of a normal market. And I don't know. I don't think that we're going to shift based on the conversation that I'm having. Yet I do think that we're going to get back to a more of a normal market. Speaking of shifting, Shannon, I'd like to highlight real quick. How long has it been since you started to focus on video, and what is the result of that been?
I started video 2.5 years ago. People thought I was nuts because it's not always easily measurable right away other than views. And it's been a game changer in my business. And it's interesting. I thought it would come from consumers. And yes, consumers, when I go on a listing appointment, I went up against somebody and they were like, yeah, we're going to interview them. I said, that's great. I respect that. Can I show you my video? And they were like, sure, let me show you, play it. And about a minute through, they slammed their hand down and they're like, that's enough. Excuse us. And they walked into the hall and I thought, oh man, this is over. And they came in, they're like, that's it. You're hired. We're not even going to interview anybody else. So it helps in the consumer decision that way. I just got a listing appointment for next week because of my videos. But really where I'm getting more business is from fellow agents who are seeing what I'm doing, liking what I'm doing. Video creates a sense of trust. They get to know who I am. They see that I'm fun, but I also know what I'm talking about. And video doesn't have to be, expensive in these produced things like some of the ones that I do. I also go live on my Facebook page, usually twice a week with buyer and seller education. And it just shows that you are an expert. And it has just really been a blessing in my business.
Well, and what I love about getting to know you is the person that I see in the video is the person that I got to meet live in person, and your audio matches your video. And video is such a great way to do that, and I applaud you for it. So We're going to be done in 6 minutes. So each of you, I want to give you 2 minutes to bring us out from here. James, why don't we start with you? And at 2 minutes, I'm going to cut you off, and then we'll go to David, and then we'll go to Shannon.
Could you? I didn't catch that first part. I heard you say we each have 2 minutes apiece, and there's 6 minutes left, but I didn't hear what you were wanting us to discuss.
Yep, you got a group of 150 people live here in the auditorium. You have people on YouTube, and if there was something that you would like to get across to this audience, or that whatever angle you would want to come from, you've got 2 minutes to use this stage, however you would like.
Gotcha. Well, let's see what we can provide with the most value. Sounds like most of us on stage have been through ups and downs in the market, and I guess if I could give anything with a little bit of value for the audience, it would be, work hard, make hay while the sun shines. We're in really good times right now. Interest rates are still at an all-time low, and in my opinion, it's like free money. And now is the time. Now's the time to work hard, to put away the money. Don't live outside of your lifestyle, outside of your standards, like a lot of us do in this industry. I think it was David, someone had said earlier that there is going to be an opportunity here. And so this market is going to normalize. It is going to adjust at some point. And you just want to make sure that you're somewhat like Shannon has said, and she has some reserves. And being in this industry long enough, we all know that when we get into a great hyper active market, that what goes up comes down, and most agents don't look past the day or past the next commission check, and just need to be prepared to start putting money away now. And if you buy or invest in real estate, there'll be a lot of opportunity here at some point. And even if you don't, to have some reserves to be prepared for your business to weather any kind of adjustments or setbacks we may have in the market. Now's the time to start.
I love it. I love it. Some awesome points right there. Shannon, you're up next.
All right, just a couple things. Mindset is everything. It's 80% mindset. My mind, I have to switch the tape often, and that's okay. I recognize, it's like my therapist tells me, it's not my first thought, it's my second and third thought. So you get that self-doubt, tell it to stop it, to go away, start changing the mindset that you have, and you will go up. And the other thing is, if you show up, you go up. Show up to the ICONversations, show up to the shareholders meeting and the ICON mastermind that they're having in Tampa next week. I'm going. I wasn't going to go because I had a bad mindset about it. And then I was like, wait a minute. No, what's my second thought? This is going to be awesome. And I'm going to surround myself with people that are smarter than me and have been around the block than me. And maybe somebody will be there that I can help. And so that, two more things. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. When they make fun of you, people made fun of me for blogging until I went from selling 3 houses to 30 in a year. And then they stopped talking about it. And then they made fun of me when I did video, and it doesn't matter. Do you? And then finally, set aside some money from each one of your paychecks. Open a separate account. I'm not a tax advisor, so you can talk to your accountant. What I do is we take out 25% of each check right away, and it goes to a tax savings account. And then when my accountant does our quarterly taxes and said it's due, I don't sweat it because I have it. And then after that, we take a little bit of money and we put it into our retirement fund. And then we take a little bit and put it into this. And my rev share, guys, that goes directly to my vacation fund. It's awesome. So those are my few little tips.
Love it, love it, love it. And David, 2 minutes, sir.
Okay, so I'm gonna kind of tie off of what Shannon said. Be you. And what I mean by that is, I worked to get where I am, but I don't want to go any further. So I have friends in this business that sell 500 homes a year. Buddy of mine says 1,200 homes a year. I don't want to do that. Okay, so if you're sitting in the audience and you don't want to sell 150 to 180 homes a year, don't do that. Find out what you want. If it's 15 homes a year, if it's 20 homes a year, if it's 50 homes a year. It doesn't matter what other people are doing. You need to figure out what you want to do and then do everything that you can possibly do to get to that goal. And if your goal changes, then shift it. But don't just continue to change your goal because of other people are doing more than you. And that was something that I had to learn. And honestly, I learned it this year because our goal was 150 homes. We did 180. And somebody asked me how many homes we wanted to sell next year. And I said 150. And they were shocked that I said 150 and not 181 or 200. And I just realized at that moment that I just didn't want, I wanted what I had and I didn't want to continue to grow. And that was for me, and that's okay. So if you want to do 20 homes a year or 50 homes a year, you focus on what you want to do. If you want to get past that, then push past that, rely on other people. I did that. I went to a Boomtown event in Charleston in 2009, and I think I had $5,000 in my pocket. And Boomtown, if you guys know anything about it, was $1,500 a month. And I signed a 12-month contract, which was insane. Went to that event, a realtor, and I left that event a business owner. And it changed my life by connecting with people that were doing 100, 200 homes a year, because I knew that's where I wanted to get.
Well, what I love about that goes back to what we were talking about earlier was you were doing within while doing without. You were first being it, then doing it, then having it. And guys, what a great Icon Conversations. The three of you, I would love to spend an hour with each and every one of you and ask more questions. The theme today brought me back to a book that changed my life. And here's the quote: "When you gamble with your time, you may be placing a bet that you can't cover. Even if you're sure you can win, be careful that you can live with what you lose. Time waits for no one. Push something to an extreme, and the postponement can become permanent." Guys, I want to thank you for everything that we're doing here. Feel free to give feedback. If you think I'm great, let me know. If you think I suck, let us know that too. There's plenty of people that can take my spot here. We're here to serve you guys. James, Shannon, David, we are all better because of what you guys were sharing there. And I want to say thank you. And I want to leave with one question to all of you. What is the one thing that we can all do to help pull the chain of this great company we have, EXP, right now? All of us can do our part to lighten the load. Our leadership is doing a freaking phenomenal job. So I want you to ask yourself is, what is it that you can do or we can do to help lighten the load of those leaders around us? All right, everybody, I appreciate you. And if you guys have any feedback, let us know. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hank. You did a great job. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.